America, it's time for some straight talk. You love your phone. Look at you. You hardly put it down. But you don't love that expensive wireless plan, do you? So what if I told you can keep that phone, network, and number 2 for a lot less? Well, this is me telling you, it's time to switch to Straight Talk, guys. Bring your own phone and get unlimited plans starting at just $45 a month on America's largest, most dependable 4G LTE networks. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. Please refer always to the latest terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
Kudos to you for clarifying those that thought maybe it wasn't so bad to get hit in the face by vulcanized rubber.
So is this what I have to get used to? You
Yes.
not letting me make a point?
Yes.
I was trying to clarify my point by saying we know it's the worst place to get hit with a puck is the face. Yeah. I was taking that out of the equation and asking Rick DiPietro, our resident goalie, what the worst place to get hit was.
And he said the twigs and berries.
What I did not know is that goalies wear more than one cup.
Right? How about that?
Normally that's a badge of honor, right?
Well,
how many cups you wear? 3.
I'm a 4-cup kind of guy. If you think about it, it's like Goldberg the goalie. The more padding you have, the better it is.
I'd be wearing lead underwear. Are you kidding me?
You like chainmail?
Oh, that's exactly right.
Go there in a suit of armor.
Chainmail. I thought for sure. I thought I was mailing something.
No.
Tim before we get to off the top and all the other fun
stuff we added
Tim wants to know, is curious if you ever wore that shirt in a barbershop quartet.
This shirt? No, I have another one that's my barbershop quartet shirt.
That was a good one.
This is usually my Blue Monday shirt.
I look at it, my eyes are kind of weaving in and out.
And then I have my Mike and Mike shirt, which I occasionally wear when I fill in, which is still back up in the office.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
I think it was 4 times in a row I wore that same shirt.
All right, there you go.
All it takes
Just
is a
to get
pitch pipe, a song, and a smile. That's a Barber Quartet song.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Is
much.
it? Yeah.
It is. Barbershop
Why don't you
Quartet.
let them do it?
All right. There you go. Hi. How are you? Anything else you want to
No, that was it.
That was it?
Yeah, we can get some off top. And I want to get to these coaches and the actors that'll play the coaches.
Very
interesting.
really
Really good ones.
It's an article on CBSSports.com because Al Pacino's playing Joe Paterno in an upcoming HBO movie. What actor would you like to see play another coach? So you can tweet us at Mike and Mike, at ESPN Golic, at Wingos, and give us the answer. We'll have that to you. But let us begin now with
Off the Top.
Here we go.
Well done.
Thank you. Pens defeated the Preds 6-0 in Game 5, tied for the second longest shutout in a Stanley Cup final game since the NHL took control of the Cup way back in 1927.
This is amazing. Home team has won every game. Pekka Rinne has been just awful when he goes to Pittsburgh and plays Pittsburgh. He's 0-6 now, giving up close to 5 goals. He gave up 3 last night, then got benched. Backup gave up 3 goals in a 6-0 loss to the Penguins. As we said, the home team has won every game. Game 6 goes back to Nashville. Will they get the win there? And then in Game 7, does Pekka Rinne have a shorter leash if things don't go well in that one? You know, he'll start the game.
Right.
But how long would he stay? I'm jumping ahead to Game 7, but I'm really hoping there is one, and it's closer than 6-0. And P.K. Subban and Sidney Crosby really, really going. I've been doing it the whole series. This one at the end of the first period, both got called for a holding. Sidney Crosby ends up, you got to check out the video, that's grabbing P.K. Subban by the ear hole of the helmet and smashing his head into the ice.
Right. In a playful way.
With the referee standing right there. They both got holding penalties. That was all. We move on.
Peter Laviolette, the head coach of the Predators, like, wait, my guy did what?
Yeah, wait. I know my guy got his head slammed into the ice.
I mean, I guess you could say he was holding in the sense that his head was being held by Sidney Crosby. But by the ear hole.
Cradled, yeah.
That was unusual. The Pekka Rinne thing is interesting because he was a stud in those 2 games in Nashville, and Pittsburgh is his own house of horrors. 0-6 in his career, goals against just about 5.
Yeah.
So if they get back there, and it looks like they will because every home team has won in this series, how long does he play? Because Rick DiPietro said you got to play him.
It's a great thing that's going to go on in this relationship with you and I. I just said all of that while you were looking at all that.
No.
I repeated it all. That was really good.
That was so brilliant. I wanted to make sure it got out there twice. That was it more than anything else. We continue with
Off the Top.
Look, that cracked pie.
I know.
Got me.
I know.
Gary Sanchez hit 2 homers off David Price yesterday as the Yankees beat the Red Sox 9-1. He has now 4 career homers against Price, tied for the second most against him by any hitter.
Here's a nice little stat. It's his 5th career multi-home run game in his 87th game. Among players who began their career since 1900, there's only been one player who's reached 5 multiple home run games in fewer contests. That would be one Mark McGwire. 84 games. Sanchez did it in 87 games.
That is pretty good. We continue with
Off the Top.
a double dose of soccer.
There you go.
United States women's team beat Sweden 1-0 in a friendly Thursday to end a 4-game winless streak. But let's be clear, when the U.S. women play the Swedish women, ain't nothing friendly about it.
Not a friendly. And the men's team, they beat Trinidad and Tobago 2-0. Thanks to Christian Pulisic. Now, understand the names he's with right now.
Right.
He scored 2 goals, bringing his career goal total to 7 in his 7th international game. So he scored his 7th international goal in fewer games at a younger age than Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi.
Who are they?
I mean, that does
Never
that
heard of them.
Would that make you heady if you're an 18-year-old and you're all of a sudden, do it quicker than those guys? Do you get a little attitude about you?
Well, we say this on NFL Live all the time. If you're on a list and the other quarterbacks on the list are like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, it's a really good list to be on.
Yeah, it is. It's a great
list. If you're on a list and the other footballers on that list are Ronaldo and Messi, that's a really good list.
Yeah.
All right, we continue.
Off the top.
And it might be off the top and done tonight as Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Warriors trying to sweep. They're the 13th team to take a 3-0 lead into the NBA Finals. 8 of the previous 12 went on to sweep, including the 07 Spurs against LeBron's Cavs.
So, I mean, it's a game of pride for the Cavaliers tonight, and it's a game to try and go 16-0 for the Golden State Warriors. We asked it earlier in a vacuum, not with the teams involved. If it was before a playoffs and forgetting the teams, is it more of an accomplishment to go 16-0 in the playoffs or come back down 0-3 in the NBA Finals? We've thrown that out there all day. We'll get to the results of that. That's been going on all morning. I would love to, obviously, to see it go on. I don't think Cleveland's winning this series, but I'd like to see it extended a little bit. But I don't think that's happening. I think Golden State obviously smells blood in the water. And obviously they have had 20 turnovers and 18 turnovers the last couple of games and still winning, even when Cleveland has been playing well. And they see that 16-0, something nobody else has done in the final, in the playoffs.
16-0, a chance to win 2 championships in 3 years, have a 73-win season in between. Yeah. And, by the way, beat a team that has the Michael Jordan of their era in LeBron James. It's impressive all the way around. You know what also is impressive?
Off the top.
The date today.
Yes, it is.
June 9th, pretty good one in sports. Here are some of the events that took place on this day. How about Secretariat winning at Belmont in record fashion? It was like 20-something lengths
it
won
was
by.
Ridiculous back in
Triple
73.
Crown in 73.
Yeah. Magic Johnson hitting the game-winning with a skyhook in Game 4 of the Finals in 87. You got Ray Bork holding up Lord Stanley's Cup as a member of the Avalanche in 2001, and Ken Griffey Jr. hitting a 600 home run when people cared about it back in 2008. And, of course, the best one, Bobby Valentine getting tossed from a game as the Mets manager and coming back into the dugout with the glasses and the fake mustache, thinking he's pulling something off.
Well, we got it on the TV screen for our viewers on ESPN2. It's almost like he believes that people didn't understand that Clark Kent was Superman just because he had glasses on.
Exactly right, yeah. Couldn't tell.
I'm going to slick my hair back.
Never saw
and
that coming.
Put on glasses, and no one will recognize I look exactly like the guy flying through the air in a blue suit and a red cape. Bobby
awesome.
V, it worked for Clark Kent, but you, sir, are no Clark Kent. It did not work for you. Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Now you can test drive Snapshot, even if you have insurance with another company. See how much you can save before you switch. So lots to get into here in this final hour on a Friday of the show, and we'll get into more of the NBA Finals in a little bit. And an interesting sort of confluence of the 4 major sports players associations in this country around a certain topic. But another topic that's generated a lot of interest, and again, you got to kudos CBS Sports for this. Al Pacino is going to play Joe Paterno in an upcoming HBO movie, and they did a little speculation about what other actors might play other coaches, and there's some really interesting ones up there, Mike.
Yeah, there is. First, we started off with who's the best coach in college football. That would be one, Nick Saban. And they put side by sides with all of these J.K. Simmons, who, if you saw J.K. Simmons in Whiplash, I mean, it fit perfectly.
Saban personified.
Absolutely perfectly on that. So I think that was a really good one. Christian Bale to play Jim Harbaugh.
Right.
To which, see, you always wondered that. Everybody's done this on radio as part of the gag. Who would play you in a movie?
Right.
And you would love it to be some good-looking guy. And for Harbaugh, that would be quite a step for him, right?
It would. It would be a win for him. But again, I think everyone would say that there's something. Jim's a little off.
Yeah, he is.
And Christian Bale does a little off really well.
True. So he'd fit character.
I think that would work. This one I thought was really interesting, and the picture makes it even look better. Chris Peterson, the Washington head coach?
Yeah.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Billy Bob.
Yeah.
Billy Bob is such a sports
Friday Night Lights.
man, and I love that whenever he's here, he loves to stop in people's offices and just chat sports with them. He is such a big sports
Well,
guy.
he came on NFL Live when they were promoting Bad Santa, too, and he was like, hey, man, whenever you want me back during the season, I'm like, yeah, that's an easy call.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Anytime.
Yeah.
We coached, Greeny and I coached in that Celebrity All-Star softball game before the baseball All-Star game during that weekend.
Right.
And Billy Bob was on my team one year, and what am I telling him? I was scared of him.
Yeah.
I'm much bigger than him, but I wasn't messing with him at all. There's just something about him.
He's
the
got
guy.
the crazy vibe.
Yeah,
There's
he
no
really
question
does.
about it.
How about this? Cliff Kingsbury at Texas Tech and Ryan Gosling.
See, this would be bad because I think Cliff thinks he's good looking enough already.
He does.
Right? I mean, what has he said? He has the advantage whenever he goes into recruits. Now, the striking similarity is there, but I don't think we need to inflate Cliff Kingsbury's ego anymore about his looks.
And you knew you had to get this guy in it from Friday Night Lights as well, the TV side of it.
Right.
Kyle Chandler, who played the coach in Friday Night Lights, as South Carolina Will Muschamp.
Yeah, and that was another good resemblance.
Yep.
Billy Bob actually played him in the movie on the movie.
Right,
based
in
on
the movie
Friday
side of
Night
it.
Lights. This one I really
The
like.
Arkansas one?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Brett Bielema, Rob Riggle.
Rob Riggle. That
Right?
is awesome.
That is a fantastic look. I mean, their noses are very similar. The face, they're big guys. All of that stuff. I mean, that may be one of the best ones I've seen.
That is really good. And another person who will be happy, Dabo Sweeney. They have Matthew McConaughey.
All right.
Now we're gonna have Dabo say that. Would Matthew say that in the locker room? All right.
I can see Matthew McConaughey saying this is a bring your own guts game.
Yeah,
I could see him saying that one. And then this one is really interesting as well. You have Dana Holgerson down at West Virginia. And how about Will Patton?
Will Patton. I always remember Will Patton immediately, obviously, from Remember the Titans and Armageddon as well with Will Patton. And then we got a bunch of great emails as well. Steve Kerr, Neil Patrick Harris.
Okay. I could see that, sort of.
Yeah. I thought that was a pretty good one.
How about this? Well, someone here on Twitter came in and said, "What about Nick Saban has to be played by Billy Bob Thornton?"
No, I like the Nick Saban and J.K. Simmons. I think that's a good one.
How about this is a really good one. Jeremy Irons is Nick Saban.
Oh, I do like that.
Yeah.
How about Brad Garrett as Phil Jackson?
Yeah. That
would be a pretty good one, huh?
That's not too bad. And, of course, this is the obvious one of all time.
Without question, the best one all time.
Omar Epps as Mike Tomlin. They're the same person.
They are absolutely the same person.
They
have never been in the same room together.
No. The first time we were doing was doing the draft on day 2 or day 3, we had Tomlin on. That was the first question we asked him. He said, "Where's Omar Epps?" Because you two are
unreal.
It's ridiculous.
It's one of the best resemblances out there.
So keep sending those into us.
Those are fun.
Yeah, keep sending those into us.
Who would play you in a movie?
Any generic middle-aged white guy.
There you go.
That is a play to your strengths.
Okay.
I know who I am, and I know what I'm not.
Pick a guy down the street from you, huh?
You, come here. Step in, you be this guy. When I had hair color, some people thought that Chandler Bing, Matthew Perry, there was a resemblance.
Oh, okay.
Someone also said Casey Martin, the golfer.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't quite see that one.
No, I don't see it either.
You know who else I get every once in a while now? The guy on Mad Men. John Slattery. There he is. Yeah, John.
I didn't watch
Slattery.
a lot of Mad Men.
Well, he was also in. He's been in a bunch of stuff.
Right.
Did you ever see Charlie Wilson's War? That movie?
No.
Okay. But you watched Baywatch the movie.
Sure did.
All right, there.
The Rock.
Oh, mercy. So I got those. Well, is there anybody that you get a lot?
Oh, I get I get John Goodman at times.
Sure, but you're less. Than
Yeah.
Jeff Garland, maybe.
Jeff Garland, I get. We had him in here. It was
By the
great
way,
having him. He was fantastic.
We ran into him in Italy a couple of years ago. We're in the train station in Rome, waiting to go up to Tuscany. We're going to 2 different cities, and he just comes over.
To country and city drop.
Well, you know. So I was vacationing with my family. I ran into another celebrity, but he was He came up. We started talking.
Great guy.
He's a huge fantasy football guy.
Yeah, huge sports.
Huge fantasy football guy. And we had the best time. He was. I can see that. You and Jeff Garland. I can see that one.
Yep.
All right. So let's move on here. We'll get to more of the NBA Finals a little later. But there's something going on. The NBA Finals, by the way, are on tonight on ESPN.
Yes, they are.
Tune in for Game 4 tonight as LeBron and the Cavs host Durant and the Warriors. It's presented by GNC. Our coverage begins at 8 Eastern on most ESPN radio stations. The difference is, will this be the last time we have to talk about this?
Exactly right, yeah.
We'll find that out going forward. We'll get into that a little bit more with Zach Lowe at the bottom of the hour. Great ESPN NBA writer. But really interesting article by Albert Breer on MMQB. And it's sort of for lack of a better term, it's a preparation step. The heads of the 4 major player unions in this country, the NFL, the NBA, NHL, and MLB, got together recently to deal with a subject that is coming that they're going to have to deal with, and that is the idea of legalized sports gambling. I mean, I think that's a matter of if, not when at this point.
You mean when
rather than if? Yeah. That pie is just killing me.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So I think they're trying to get ahead of it. And there's an interesting quote here from NFLPA executive George Atala, who said, the sports unions have been discussing this issue, in particular around the integrity of our respective games. We're collaborating on it. We might as well be open to changes that are coming because of, in parentheses, legalized sports gambling. But before we get the revenue aspect of it, do we have the infrastructure in place to prevent any sort of shenanigans? Is that the issue?
Well, and as we know, there's going to be hockey and NFL in Las Vegas very soon. I don't have a problem with legalized gambling. There's 2 ways to look at this. Obviously, they're looking at it from the player side. So from the player side, we obviously knew not to gamble on our own sport, and you're not allowed to bet on other sports either. You're not allowed to go into that sports. I don't know if that's true for all the sports. But I believe in football it is. You're not allowed to gamble even on other sports. I mean, you can go into a casino and gamble, play blackjack and do all that kind of thing. But as far as the sports book and betting on other sports, that's where you're never going to be allowed to bet on your sport. So that's never going to happen. So I'd like to know, and we'll talk to some of these guys at some point and get into the conversation of where the latitude might go.
Right.
What you may be able to do, especially when teams are in Vegas. Players will be in Vegas. Now, again, I'm not worried about the player all of a sudden betting on games, because the guys that can influence the games the most are the ones that are the highest paid players. And you're going to tell me a guy making $25 million a year, is going to start throwing a game, to make not $25 million.
Although that's what George was alluding to there. I think he wants to make sure, when he says shenanigans, I think let's make sure everything's on the up and up here. I mean, that's my interpretation.
Listen, you're trying to do that now. You're doing that now anyway. I mean, that's already a rule. You're already not allowed, and you don't want shenanigans going on now just because teams are going to go to Vegas and they're going to legalize gambling. I mean, you're still going to have rules for athletes. Again, we're talking about 2 different things, the regular population and the athletes, of what you're going to allow them to do. Are you going to, so I bring up the word latitude like they did again, are you going to allow them to bet on other sports? Do you do that? Especially because athletes know other athletes,
sure.
So are you getting information? So
Inside
do you allow
info.
them to do that, or you just say, no, we're still not going to do that? It's already, there's our rules in place, so it's not like, oh, my God, we have now teams in Vegas, everything, goes out the window and hell in a handbasket. I don't buy that at all.
It's interesting, though, how far this has shifted, because when you played, you knew what a taboo topic it was
the
NFL.
Without question.
You couldn't even – they still have rules where, some players were penalized for being in a casino and doing arm wrestling. Well, I think those rules have to be looked at.
That stuff has to go away.
Because you have a team in Las Vegas.
Without question.
And people that are, haven't been following the sport for 30 years, they don't understand what a dynamic shift this has been to the thinking of the NFL. Like you said, when you played, those things were just never even discussed. It was not even thought of being a cross-pollination. Before the draft, we always get our one interview with Roger Goodell, and so I sat down and talked to him a little bit, and this was one of the topics we talked about before the draft in April. And his thing was, look, there are casinos everywhere. The issue is sports books, and now you're in Las Vegas. You are in Las Vegas where there are sports books in almost every casino, and there's a team there, and the NFL wanted to parse that none of the money from gambling specifically is going to build that stadium. But a lot of that money is coming from hotels. And where do you think the hotels in Vegas get their money from? It's not from the bed and breakfast.
Right.
It's not from the room service. It's not from the $30 room and a free meal. It's because they want to get the money from you when you stay in the hotel and you gamble.
Right. It's like when we were talking about the team going to Vegas. As I stated, do we think debauchery just is going to ensue?
All fan bases maybe.
Oh my God, it's going to be crazy. You can. So the arm wrestling thing that these guys, and I just watched a tape of that yesterday when I was flipping through channels of these guys. because they didn't ask the permission for it, and
Right.
there's a battle with it. To ask permission to go to a casino is ridiculous. In my mind, it's ridiculous. You're a grown man. You want to go in a casino and do an arm wrestling thing. You want to go in a casino and do something else. Go in a casino. The sports book, you understand, is against the rule. I've walked into many banks in my day to deposit or withdraw money. I know it would be against the law to rob that bank.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm in the bank.
Good call by you,
Okay,
by the way.
I know I'm not allowed to then put a finger in my pocket, point it like a gun, and say, give me all your money. I get that. So you can go in a casino. You know it's against the rules to go in the sports book. Don't go in the sports book. Okay? I mean, we're not 5-year-olds who you're dangling candy in front of. So I don't understand why all of a sudden teams are going to Vegas and we think all hell is going to break loose. I don't get it.
And let's be clear, a lot of this entire situation is driven by one thing and one thing only.
What's that?
Fantasy football.
Without a doubt.
Fantasy football has created an avenue with which that sort of allowed this mindset to change a little bit.
It has, but that's for the fan. We don't think players, we don't think some D lineman is putting his fantasy team together and playing against the running back that he picked and letting him score a touchdown.
No, that's not.
Because I need my points. I mean, come on.
That would be the way. Hey, listen, we noticed a little lackadaisical. Look, man, my fantasy team was really struggling.
I needed that touchdown.
I really needed to get that one. That would be something. But I do think it's smart of the NHL, the NBA, the NFL, and Major League Baseball to get ahead of this story. Because like you said, it's a matter of when, not a question of if at this point. Right. And I think it's smart for them to try and come up with a cohesive plan, not only to maximize revenues from this for the players, but to make sure everybody understands what's at stake and what is and isn't acceptable.
Hey, everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
All right, we continue on Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. All our guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line, and one of those said guests joins us now. ESPN NBA writer Zach Lowe of the Lowe Post is here, and the Lowe Post podcast is ready to rock and roll with us here. And Zach, I guess the question becomes, does it end tonight? Is there any chance that Cleveland can avoid the sweep and get one game at home?
There's always a chance with LeBron, but yet yesterday, when you see thoughtful LeBron come out like that the Cavs just had a vibe of, they're resigned to the outcome one way or another, and the Warriors want history. They're finally talking about history. They're letting themselves say 16-0. So I would pick the Warriors tonight and be a little surprised if the Cavs stretched it out.
While their history is going to look very good, the history could have looked even better. Winning the title a couple of years ago, losing last year, and then looking like they're going to win it this year. Could have been 3 in a row. One of the reasons was up 3-1. Draymond Green, though, suspended for Game 5 of that series. Cleveland wins it and comes back down 3-1 to win the series and put a little blemish on that 3-year run. I know you talked to Draymond Green a bunch, and a lot of it was about what happened last year. Kind of take us through what his thought process is about that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm fascinated by that because you couldn't blame a teammate. I mean, you can talk to this, Mike, more than I could as a guy who played at this level, but as a teammate, it would be natural to harbor a little bitterness toward a guy. You might have cost us a once-in-a-lifetime shot, and I'm fascinated by the process of how the Warriors sort of got over it and just accepted him and brought him back into the fold and went on. And obviously one of the reasons is they signed Kevin Durant. That makes life easier, and that's what Draymond was talking about, sort of. He doesn't regret what he did. I think he certainly regrets the league's ruling, but he feels justified in swiping at LeBron like that. And he's very open about the fact that helping convince KD, I mean, he was their lead recruiter, helping convince KD, whatever leftover bitterness there might have been goes out the window when you do that.
Well, Zach, it's interesting. I thought I also heard him saying, he wished he hadn't done it, and then he says he doesn't regret doing it. Those seem to be conflicting statements.
I think I think he knows, and he thinks in his heart, and they all do, that they would have won the finals had he been there in Game 5. Like, the suspension gave the Cavaliers, in Golden State's mind, something to hold on to, some hope that they needed to get themselves back in the series. So I guess he just feels conflicted about it. I mean, I don't think he regrets. I think he felt justified in taking a swipe at him, and he does view life as like, things happen. You got to move on. You got to take lessons, and I've changed as a man. I have 2 technicals in the playoffs. I'm not getting suspended. I'm controlling myself a little better, so it happened, and we've moved on.
Zach Lowe from the Lowe Post podcast joining us here on Mike and Mike Trey Wingo. And as far as we know July 4th, that day in the Hamptons when Kevin Durant made that decision to go to Golden State, and you mentioned Draymond Green was one of the first to call him. Can you give us a timeline and how that all came about?
Well, others, including Adrian Wojnarowski of The Vertical, have reported for a long time that the recruiting of KD started, well before even the finals last year, that this was a thing that the Warriors players knew about. They whispered about it. They may have whispered to KD, and that Draymond was the lead guy. And, after they lose the finals, Draymond told me I contacted Kevin even right after Game 7, and then, obviously the front office is barred from doing that, but the league has sort of let players do what they want to do. Like Chandler Parsons and DeAndre Jordan were on a boat cruise for like a month before free agency started a couple of years ago. So, and then, then the Hamptons happens, and after that it's a pretty quick decision. But I don't think it's any secret that the Warriors players had an eye on that scenario for a long time.
All right, Zach Lowe with us on Mike and Mike. And one of the things that we talked about at the start of the show, and again, we conceded it might have been better if we had come up with this before the playoffs started. We just weren't that smart.
No.
And we're willing to admit that. You have 2 scenarios in play here in the NBA Finals. Number one, that the Warriors do something unprecedented. They run the table 16-0. Or, conversely, the only thing left for the Cavs to do is to win 4 straight against one of the best teams of all time. Now, we wanted to take this away from the current format that we're in that these 2 teams are the teams we're talking about. But in a vacuum, if you could say to someone, hey, someone's going to run through the NBA playoffs without a single loss at 16-0, or when you get to the finals, a team would be down 3-0 and find a way to come back and win the title by winning 4 straight against a team that they'd lost 3 straight to. In your eyes, as an NBA expert, not specifically this moment, this Cavs against this Warriors team, but in a vacuum, which of those 2 accomplishments would you say would be more impressive?
I mean, both are probably going to require some breaks, right? I mean, that's what's interesting. That's why neither of them have happened before. Even this playoffs, the Warriors have had, injuries break their way in every series except this one. I almost want to say that coming back from 3-0 is more impressive, just because at that point in the finals, you're facing the best team in the league or the second best team in the league. I mean, teams that get down 3-0, they're just dead inside. They know it's over, and to summon whatever sort of mental reserves you need to summon to pull that off is at that stage, at that level, is incredible, and that's why you basically almost never see it in sports. So I'd almost lean there, as weird as it sounds, since it's 1/4 of the games.
And we know the reality of this situation, it's more a matter of when, not if, when Cleveland's going to lose that last game and lose the series. That being said, as we will then spin everything forward, when next season starts, Cleveland could have the same lineup and make it to the finals again. How different do you expect their lineup to be to try and not only get to the finals, but to have the ability to beat Golden State?
Yeah, I would be surprised if the same team is back, and if LeBron doesn't think he can compete with this team, everyone knows he's going to be a free agent after next season. The pressure is on. He's going to settle for a really great team that can't stack up against the Warriors, and the Warriors are just a different team. They're a totally unique matchup, and I think they'll look around at trades. Probably Love would be target number one. Say, can we flip him for a wing player who can guard multiple positions, more of a two-way Warriors kind of matchup player? But that's not going to be easy. Those players are hard to get, and we'll see what happens.
Well, the one name that a lot of speculation has been about is Paul George, which would make things very interesting because that might be a rental for 1 year. But again, if LeBron is leaving or going to be a free agent after 1 year, you have to be all in for that 1 year. Okay, you already said, Zach, that you think that the Warriors are going to pull this off tonight. So make the case. What has to happen for the Cavs to somehow scrap, find a game, and just force this thing to continue?
Well, I mean, Tristan Thompson needs to show up and get some offensive rebounds.
He needs to actually score, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things the Warriors were most worried about. And that and the three-point shooting has been the story. Other than the Warriors' brilliance, the Cavs' lack of offensive rebounds, and I think they're shooting 29% from three, and the three is their bread and butter. If those things flip for a game and LeBron and Kyrie continue to play brilliantly, yeah, they can absolutely get a win.
All right, we'll see if that plays out for your beloved Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah,
Mike.
well, not happening.
You had last year.
I did have that. We're hanging on to that.
Magical.
Yeah.
You're hanging on to that the way J.R. Smith doesn't hang on to a shirt.
There you go.
That's the way it should be. Zach, we appreciate it. Thanks very much. Zach joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance.
It's with Draymond. Listen, if you would tell Draymond, listen, if you did what you did, you're going to get suspended for a game. Obviously he's not going to do it, right? I mean, you hear he regrets that he got suspended, doesn't regret what he did. As I said, if you know they go hand in hand, maybe it'd be a different thought. It just, you just hear that "don't disrespect me," line a whole lot when you want people about team. That's one thing about Draymond, as I've always said with him. If I were his teammate, I wouldn't say anything to him before a game saying, hey, you need to watch yourself, because Draymond is a great player because of the way he plays.
Right.
What I think players need to do when you have a guy like, and everybody has a guy like Draymond. You play long enough, you have a guy like Draymond on your team. And what you have to do is you don't want to mute that, but you have to be ready to step in so they don't get into trouble.
Right.
Now, it's tough when somebody steps over you and you immediately react the way you did. It's more when you're squaring off or going for someone that you can try and –
Or you're walking toward them with anger.
You can get in the way. If something happens spontaneously, it's a little more difficult to do, but that's when they're at their best, when they can play – at their kind of hyper speed level, which at times is going to cost you. And the better, I've always used this analogy. If Reggie White jumps off sides, they're just going to ask Reggie, please don't do that again and go get a sack. I jump off sides too much, I'm sitting on the bench.
Correct.
I mean, that's just, Draymond is a great player. You live with some of the things that he does, but you don't want it. It's like Odell Beckham. You live with some of the antics, but you don't want it to go so far as to cost you in games or in penalties. You want to go kiss the kicking net and propose to it and do all. I could care less, because as I continue to say, watch the rest of the players walking off the field when he's doing that. They're not even paying attention to him because that's the way he is. So I don't care about that stuff. Don't get the penalty.
Right.
Don't get the suspension. You have to watch how far you take it so you don't, in essence, then cost your team.
And the bottom line is, there's a sliding scale of justice in every sport. The better you are, the more you're going to get away with.
Absolutely right.
And that's the way it's going to be.
And now, insurance-minded speeches from Geico.
Hardship. My grandmother would go through it every month to pay her insurance bill. First, she would handwrite a paper check in cursive. Then, using her own tongue, she would wet a stamp for an envelope. Today, however, we need not weary our hands and tongues. Today, we can pay our Geico bill with the Geico app. Away with hardship, in with bill pay on the Geico app. Thank you.
All right, Mike and Mike rolls on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. It is time for Forward Thinking, brought to you by GNC Summer Savings Event, now featuring BOGO 50 Pro Performance Amp Proteins. Here's what's coming up this weekend on ESPN Radio. Tonight, LeBron and the Cavs look to avoid being swept against the Warriors. The coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern. Then Saturday, the Tigers travel to take on the Red Sox. Our coverage there begins at 6 p.m.
There you go.
Eastern. I've tried to recover all day from the crack pie.
The crack pie that Rick DiPietro brought in.
Humpty brought it in.
Humpty brought it in.
And I said it tasted a lot like a pie that my mom used to make growing up.
I've never heard of this pie that of which you speak.
You were born and raised in Cleveland.
Yes, I was.
You went to college in Notre Dame.
I did.
And you now live in Connecticut.
Yes.
What do all those things have in common?
They're I don't know.
They're north of the Mason-Dixon
I lived in Orlando for a while.
Florida's
Is it south or not?
Well, it is technically south.
Okay.
But Florida's its own thing.
Okay. So now
we're talking south, like Georgia, Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, Tennessee. That's where Arkansas, and to some degree Texas, but as we all know, Texas isn't a state. It's its own distinct and separate country, and they're very happy for you to treat it that way.
Wow, okay.
So my mom and dad were both from Texas, and they would make something called Jeff Davis pie.
Jeff Davis pie.
Jeff Davis pie, and it tasted exactly like the crack pie. So I looked it up, and here are the ingredients of what we just devoured on a very, very large scale this morning. So when we go home and have a 4-hour nap, this will explain why. 1 cup butter, 1 cup white sugar, 1 cup light brown sugar, 1 cup heavy cream, 2 eggs, 1 tablespoon vanilla extract, and 1 other cup heavy cream, 3 tablespoons white sugar, and add bourbon whiskey.
Are you
That is
kidding
pecan
me?
pie, baby.
That's what we just ate?
That's what we just glued our heart arteries
Holy
together.
smokes.
So that's why I was having a little bit of a struggle there in one of those segments.
I should just take a railroad spike and put it in my head.
Well, the ononly thing that'll help that down is a little bit of Cheribundi.
There you go.
Take a little chum juice right
there
now.
it is. You go ahead. You go ahead and enjoy that. Bring you back to life a little bit, huh?
Cheribundi. Good for you.
Jim Carrey as Rick Carlisle.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. We're doing the coaches as actors thing.
Yeah.
Again, CBS Sports got this going together because Al Pacino is playing Joe Paterno in an upcoming HBO movie.
Right. The one you mentioned before, now that everybody else has rejoined us, Danny DeVito as Stan Van Gundy.
Stan's like, can't I get any better?
Stan can't be happy about that.
There's another one out there that I'm not going to mention for Stan Van Gundy, but we'll move on.
Okay.
How about this one? Urban Meyer played by Paul Rubens, a.k.a. Pee Wee Herman.
Okay, that's just
No?
someone not being nice. What that is.
That's just something.
Don't you think?
But there is one that I think is out there that I think we need to. And it sort of got me thinking about it because of OTAs this week, or actually it was mandatory minicamp for the Patriots held on Tuesday and Wednesday, and it was pouring rain up at Foxborough.
Right.
And, it was a lousy day. And we all know Belichick wears the hoodie.
Likes
right?
the hoodie.
Well, he had on a rain-proof jacket with the hoodie, and it was way down over
So he
his
had the
eyes.
hoodie with the hood up.
Yeah, it was way up
Because he
there.
likes the hoodie. You don't always see the hood up.
No,
Sometimes
but
you
normally
do.
when the hoodie and the sweatshirt it comes to the crown of his
Right,
head.
right.
This was all the way down over his – you couldn't see his eyes.
Okay.
And for the viewers on ESPN2, we're going to put this up. Bill Belichick in the rain hoodie, Palpatine the Emperor.
Oh, that's
Look at
real.
that.
They both have the – and Palpatine is actually smiling and
Yes,
Bill isn't.
Bill is not. So I can just look at that.
You have one of the most notorious bad guys has kind of a devilish smile on his face, and Bill doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. Feel the power of the dark side.
dude-
Look at that picture.
Yeah.
And for those of you on radio, just Google it. It's unbelievable. Belichick from the minicamp on Tuesday, Palpatine the Emperor.
Palpatine would be scared of Belichick
I was about to
if
say,
they were in the same room.
That's the scary thing about this. Belichick is more powerful than Palpatine.
Without a doubt.
He actually could get Palpatine to do what he wanted.
Come up with the name Palpatine.
Writers.
I mean,
That's a good name.
But I mean, you're sitting and writing about something obviously that never has happened.
Yeah.
And you come up with it. We need a name. Palpatine.
Emperor Palpatine.
Where does it come from?
Oh, I know. Ovaltine was taken. So they went with Palpatine.
Palpatine.
Does that make any sense?
No, it makes
no. Thanks.
It makes no sense.
Last question: will we have a Game 5 in the NBA Finals?
I want there to be. I'm going to say I do not think we will.
Yeah, I'm still clinging to hope. I'm Lloyd Christmas. You're telling me there's a chance. I'm taking it.
I'm with you, and I think they can do it. They played well enough, obviously, to have the lead with 3 minutes to go.
Just finish the deal, baby.
Just finish the deal, But you know what? If it starts to go south, does a wind get sucked right out of the sails?
If they come out and it's another 61% shooting in the first quarter, and they're down by seven.
Yeah.
That ends quickly. Yeah. Hey, what a week it's been.
Yeah.
Thanks to all the guests that came in today. It was a lot of fun.
Very nice.
You're stealing my shirt. I'm just telling that right now.
I'm stealing the shirt. I'm stealing the pies. I'm taking it all. Now get out.
I can't take any more pie. Please take all the pie. Thanks for watching and listening.